And then afterwards, I'll show you the glides for the toes. Okay, but we'll start with the ankle first. Okay, so I just want to show you. Yesterday we did traction, compression, we did posterior glide, and we did anterior glide. Now we saw, well, maybe the first comment to mention is that there was a bit of confusion as to where you stand for the doing those glides. It doesn't matter. You can stand on the lateral side, or you can stand on the inside of the foot to do the gliding. Okay, but what we want you to do though is if you're going to stand on the lateral side of one foot, we want you to stand on the lateral side of the other foot. So you feel, because I mean, if you're doing it there and then you go there, you're not going to be close enough. You're not necessarily going to have the right positioning. Okay, and you have to be You have to be consistent from one side to the other to make sure you assess the same thing. Okay, so if you prefer to do it inside the feet, just make sure you do it inside on the other side. If you do it outside, make sure you do it outside the other side. Okay. So just, and make sure, sometimes it's easier to do outside because you don't have the plinth in the way of your thigh. So then you can be out, you can get your patient close to you, and you can do your glide, and then you can go to the other side and do it. It does require a bit of patient movement, so sometimes, I just, we like just to go from one side to another without them to move too much. But so try to just be consistent. Doesn't matter which side you're going to do it, just be consistent, have the proper patient position, and the proper biomechanics for yourself. Okay? So that's the clarification about where to stand. Now, I just want to show an alternative for the anterior glide, because I saw some people struggling a little bit yesterday if your hand was not big enough to do the technique that Crystal was showing. So there's an alternative to it. You can do it in prone, and then you use a little bit more of your body weight in the situation. Okay. So to make sure you see well, I'm going to do it on this foot. Okay, and I'm going to just move a little bit her leg. I wouldn't do that normally, but for camera purposes, I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same that we did yesterday. Stabilize the tilted fib. You make sure you don't squeeze it too much, but you have a firm grip to be able to stabilize well the bones. Now she's a bit too much plantar flex, so I need to also be able to adjust the plantar flexion. So if you cup, basically the other hand will go on the posterior part of the talus, and the talus we saw that was just right under the malleolus. We want to be just right under it. Okay. So if we show it on the bone, it's not the same foot. This is the left foot. Okay. Right foot, and I'm doing it on the left. But just to show you, I'm stabilizing here the tilted fib, and then we have the talus right here. So I'm using my web space, okay, between my thumb and my index to have a good hold on the talus. And then I'm going to push it forward because I'm doing an anterior glide. I'm also going to use my hand to make sure I have the proper degree of plantar flexion. Okay? Okay, so two things. If you're too low, Crystal was mentioning that, well, first of all, if you're too low, you're not going to be in the right bone, okay? And you're also going to create some dorsiflexion as you do the motion. And we can see that during the spot checks or the OSCEs if you do that, okay? So if you're causing some plantar flexion, some dorsiflexion, you're not doing the right thing because we're not supposed to see that, okay? The anterior glide is associated with plantar flexion. Okay, so let's recap here. Okay, stabilize the tilted fib. My web space on the posterior part of the talus. I make sure I use the rest of my hand to go into that right position. And then from there, I'm going to push and do my assessment. And then let it recoil back naturally. Okay, so I'm sure it's been reviewed during the spot check this morning, but we're assessing neutral zone, R1, and I get to my R2. Okay? And while we discussed with the different clinicians before the lab, it was mentioned too that it's easier, it's probably easier for you to feel right now on someone that potentially has an anterior instability, anterior issue, because then it has more movement. So sometimes it's going to be easier for you to feel the difference in terms of the neutral zone R1, R2. But the instructor will elaborate on that in the different rooms. Okay? But in general, just try to practice on different people so you feel different things. But it's going to be easier to feel those things often on the anterior glide compared to the posterior glide because people tend to be hypermobile anteriorly versus sometimes stiff more posteriorly. Okay? So let's do it this way. Okay? And so now I'm going to have her turn around. Okay, and then I'm just gonna show, I'll show it on her left ankle actually because she has more mobility on that side. So I'll get you to bend this one so people can see. Okay, I just want to show you, I'm going to put a little bit of cushioning here. And we're going to just, you're going to try the prone position and then you're going to just briefly review your glides this morning. And you're going to try the grading. Okay, so yesterday we said let's focus on the neutral zone R1, R2 and the end field. Today you still want to, focus on this, maintaining that. But we also want you to start practicing a little bit the grading system for treatment. Okay, so if we're taking, I'll do it with the anterior glide because she actually has more motion on that glide. She has an anterior instability of her ankle that is not irritable. So I double checked with her. That was not a problem for her that I was doing it on her. She has no pain right now. And maybe we can see, I don't know if we'll be able to see the difference. And, I'm going to do it on the other leg the way I don't want you to do it. Okay? Just for camera purposes, I want you to be able to see. I don't know if you'll be able to see. If I do an anterior glide on this ankle, this is how far I can go. Okay? Let's try the other side. Maybe, can you bring the camera up just a tiny bit? Okay, if I do an anterior glide, just up, yeah. If you see. Anyway, so if you don't see the difference, you can feel it, okay? So when it's time to practice between different people, if you know that you have more motion, get other people. If obviously you have to ask for consent because maybe she doesn't want everybody here to do for people to do the anterior glide on her. But there's more motions. But I'm sure we have more than one person that has an issue in the room. Okay, so let's just go back. And if I do a grade 1, it's within the neutral zone, but a small oscillation. So before R1. So it's going to be very light. Okay, and we can't really see much what I'm doing, and there's not a lot, you feel a little bit, not much, okay? If I do a grade 2, I need to stay in the neutral zone, so I need to find my neutral zone, my barrier, R1, and I need to stay there, and I'm doing a larger amplitude. I'm not sure you can see the difference, but I'm doing a little bit larger motion, and I let it recoil to the beginning, because we're grade 1 and 2, we're staying between the neutral center rotation up to R1. Now if I want to do a grade 3 is a large oscillation, but between R1 and R2, okay? So I need to I'm going to assess my R1 and then my R2. So then I'm going to stay there and do my oscillation technique. Go a little bit faster too. Okay, I'm just going a little slow here so that you can see the motion. And then the grade 4 is, go to your R2 and then just move back a little bit because it's a small oscillation at the end of the motion. Okay. And I don't know if there's a specific rhythm. Maybe, I don't know if other clinicians know. I would say maybe 1 per second or... is there a specific motion? You can text me if you know a specific rhythm to it. But I'm so used to doing it that I don't question myself. Okay? So you just have to oscillate and just let it the time to recoil to where you want. Okay, not fully to the beginning if I'm doing a grade 4. And then I just go back and forth. Okay? And in terms of parameter, again, I'm not sure we do have very specific guidelines. I would recommend, it depends on what you're treating, but if you're treating something that is shortened tissue, that trying to break, to make it, to work on the viscoplastic properties of the tissue, you probably want to go, in somewhat of at least work on it for a total of 60 seconds, just like the flexibility stretch that we were doing. So there's different ways of doing it, and depends on the irritability of the patient. You can decide to go by reps, do a few, I'm going to do 6 times 10 reps, or go like this. Takes about a second for each. Or you could decide to go by seconds. I'm going to work on it for about 30 seconds. Give it a little break, make sure the patient is okay, work on it for another 30 seconds. And you reassess afterwards, you see what you've gained. If you're happy with it, then you can stop. If you're not happy with it, you can continue. So you always play with the test, also test, retest aspect of it. Okay? Any questions? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so just to clarify also, because we see often this mistake, is you're going to make sure that your hands are pretty much touching one another when you're doing these glides. You don't want to be on the bone, on the same bone, obviously, but you want to be very close, and just not more than a little bit of a space, but they can be touching, because I'm on different bones, and my hands are touching. Yeah, otherwise it's not specific enough, okay? Hands needs to be very, very close to one another. So yes, so the question is, you can be right over the malleoli, you don't need to be right above it. Yes, exactly, you need to be right at the most distal part of the distal tib field. And I need to be at the most proximal part of my talus. Okay. Right, okay. Okay. The other point that Crystal wants to make is that every time we do those glides, there's also some initial soft tissue give that you need to compress first. Okay, so you compress a little bit. You compress your soft tissue first. Okay, just from my pressure here, there's some tissue. There's some soft tissue. I need to compress them against the bone first, and they're not part of the neutral zone. Okay, so I'm doing that compression first, compressing my soft tissue on the bone. Once I'm there, then I can start my neutral zone. Okay. And then the other point is that you always maintain that compression of the soft tissue on the bone during the glides. Okay, because you don't want to let go that compression, because it can lead you improperly into thinking that the neutral zone is bigger than what it is. Okay, so you compress the soft tissue, you maintain it for the full assessment or for the full treatment technique. And it's not part of the neutral zone. Thank you. Okay, just double check if there was anything in the other rooms that we need to address. I think we've got some text message. Okay, so great. The small oscillation techniques are two